Welcome, classic movie fans. My name is Mary Lyle. I'm the Director of Education for the Western Heritage Museum and Lee County Cowboy Hall of Fame. And I'm here with my favorite co-host, our curator, Kim Clonch.
Hi.
And we are going to start with the greatest shark film of them all, and that is Jaws. And yes. Jaws was released in 1975. I remember that everybody was talking about it, and I couldn't watch it. I have a hard time with violence. And so my friend Kim convinced me to watch it. And I did finally watch it just the other day. It didn't freak me out. I just covered my eyes every time there was a lot of blood.
That works.
So when did you first see Jaws?
I was probably 5. I was young. Well, the reason I was convinced to watch Jaws at a young age is because it was a robot shark. Whenever I was told it was a robot shark, it didn't make it scary to me, because then in my head it was like, real sharks don't do that. Only robot sharks eat people like that. So often brought up in conversation, weirdly enough. Someone will it'll be a quiet room and you hear the doo-doo, doo-doo, just 2 notes, and you just instantly like Jaws.
Exactly. And when John Williams, he's the composer of the score, and he did win an Academy Award for the score. When he first presented that to Steven Spielberg, he played it for him, and I guess he said, "That's funny, John, but what do you really have in mind for the theme?" And John Williams said, "No, that's it. Believe me, this is the thing that is going to fit."
Yep.
And boy, was he right. How do you think the film would have been without that?
I can't even think of the movie without that. Even all of the other movies have it. So I'm just like, I can't imagine how it would be without the score.
Because that's what a score is supposed to do. It's supposed to enhance the comedy, or if it's the tension. And I think this film is more about tension than just plain old terror. It's more like an Alfred Hitchcock movie to me. It builds a lot of tension. You're just waiting and waiting and waiting. Mm-hmm. And then you're surprised.
Oh, yeah. I see the tension. I don't see it as a horror movie, scary movie.
No.
You're right. It's more of a suspense thriller. You're at the edge of your seat the entire time.
I was afraid to watch it because everything I had heard. I'm glad I did watch it because it is more suspenseful than anything else. And also because of the human interplay between all of the characters. It was really very well done. The writers were Peter Benchley and Carl Gottlieb, and it is based on Peter Benchley's novel.
I guess I haven't read the novel. That's one of the few movie crossovers I haven't read.
I haven't read it either because I was scared to, but now I'm going to go ahead and read it. And there are a lot of differences, as always, when you adapt a novel for the screen. There's going to be a lot of differences.
So cool things about the movie, though, Miss Mary. When the movie came out, the term blockbuster, like summer blockbuster, it actually was not used until Jaws. Jaws was the very first summer blockbuster movie, followed by Star Wars a couple years later. The shark was actually named Bruce after Steven Spielberg's lawyer, because there were so many lawsuits during the set because people were getting hurt by the robotic shark.
I read Steven Spielberg, Martin Scorsese, and George Lucas went to visit the studio where the shark was being made. And as a joke, Lucas bent over and put his head sort of in the jaws, and the jaws came down. And they messed up the shark a little bit. And the 3 of them just ran out of there because they thought they were going to get in trouble. George Lucas's first film was American Graffiti, and he recommended Richard Dreyfuss for the role of Hooper. He does a good job. He's a good adversary, a good antagonist for Robert Shaw's character, Quint.
Steven Spielberg, when he read the novel, was actually rooting for the shark. But the human characters were so unlikable to Steven Spielberg, so he was rooting for the shark. So in the movie, he's trying to make it where the human characters are likable, where you actually want the humans to win and not the shark.
These characters are complicated. You just don't like Robert Shaw's character, Quint. He's that grizzled sea captain. He is not very likable at all, and it's going to be done his way or you can hit the highway.
Oh, very much so. And just, you don't really like him because he's also very arrogant with how things happen.
He's arrogant for a good reason. He's the one that has all the experience. He views Richard Dreyfuss's character as an elite snob, which in a way he was. He was well educated. He bought his own boat and all of his equipment himself, which usually researchers, they don't have enough money to do that. So Robert Shaw's character treated Richard Dreyfuss's character as a dilettante. That wasn't true. He knew more than Quint gave him credit for knowing.
I feel more sorry for Brody, the sheriff, than any of the other characters. But I feel like Brody just, he's this new sheriff in town type of a thing, and he has to deal with this. And it's just like,
He's never been at sea. He doesn't like the water, doesn't want anything to do with it. And so he has to conquer that fear when he's put in that situation.
Did you know that the phrase, "we're going to need a bigger boat," that phrase was actually not scripted? They thought that they had cut just out of somewhere. They look at the camera and go, "We're going to need a bigger boat." I didn't realize that wasn't in the script.
Roy Scheider plays Sheriff Brody. He is such a good actor and very believable in this. He's the character that the audience is going to identify with. Most of us aren't independently wealthy like Hooper, and I've never been to sea. I have nothing in common with Quint. You think the one thing that gives him humanity is when he tells the story of the Indianapolis, and it really rounds out his character. Because of this film, a lot of people were afraid to go onto the beaches. Now that we've been studying about sharks, we had that visit with the shark bite expert. He gave us a lot of good information of what to do, what not to do. The people in this film were doing all the what not to do. For example, Chrissy, the first one that gets attacked. What is she doing wrong?
She's supposed to look like a seal, and that's kind of why the shark attacks her. From underwater, her body would look more like a seal.
She's splashing around also.
And causing commotion and causing energy. And sharks like to go where energy's at to see what that is and what animal it is.
The sharks sort of navigate by electricity. And so when things get stirred up like that, they're drawn to it. So Chrissy was doing everything wrong. As Tyler Bowling, our shark bite expert, explained, a lot of those attacks happen off the coast of Florida. They're smaller sharks, though. They are attracted to the motion. But he said if you punch them in the nose or pierce their gills or in the eyes or whatever, that they will retreat. And so his suggestion is that you shouldn't panic. Now, how are you going to stop yourself from doing that?
It also all depends on how you're bitten, though, too.
He said a lot of people are going to be bitten on the ankle, their arm, or something like that. And so those wounds are survivable. Most of the bites are exploratory.
I was about to say, when they say we don't have the taste that they want.
Off the coast of Florida, a lot of those are the small sharks, like the black-tip sharks. Off the coast of California, however, that's where you're going to find some great whites. It's because what they're hunting there are seals. So that's where you're going to see a lot of great white shark attacks. Florida does have great white sharks, but it doesn't have seals. And there is a conflict in this film. Right away, Sheriff Brody wants to close the beach, but he's convinced not to by the mayor. And the July 4th season is when they make their money. And in a way, it reminded me of the conflict we're having right now over COVID, whether to open or not open, and people are hurting financially. And so how far do you go to keep people safe? And that was a decision that had to be made. He gave in at first. And then what happened to the little boy and the mother that came up and said to him, you knew, and the famous slap. She wasn't really an actress. She didn't know how to fake a slap. So she slapped him 17 times.
He stood there and took it like a champ, though.
I guess it's time for us to rate this film.
I give Jaws a 10 out of 10. It's not my personal favorite, but it is a very good, very well portrayed suspense thriller. You can relate to it. It's classic.
And it's hard to top it, even though they did make 3 sequels. A lot of critics think that the first one was really the best one. I don't know if you agree with that or not.
I like the first and the third. I could do without the second.
And I haven't seen the second or the third, but maybe I will now. I would give this a rating of 10 for all of the reasons that you said. Even though Steven Spielberg wasn't the first choice as the director, I think he was the best choice for it. He really proved himself with this film.
It put him on the map. Beforehand, he was a director, but after Jaws, it was like Steven Spielberg is the man.
We hope that you will join us as we watch these films. We start Shark Week with Jaws on July the 11th. And then on July 18th, we will show The Meg.
We also hope that this starts a conversation with you and your friends about shark conversation. Whether you live in the desert or by the ocean, sharks are actually a very important part to our ecosystem. We also hope that you have watched our mini Shark Week along with Discovery Shark Week to learn more about these wonderful, fascinating animals in our world. Follow our Facebook page, follow our YouTube channel, and make sure you stay up to date with our website because we'll hopefully have information about museum openings, closings, and reservation slots. And we hope you enjoy the movies.